Hey, my name's Josh Lawson, and I'd love to tell you guys a story about how God has provided for my wife and I at one time during our marriage. So we're in the ministry, and so of course there's some months where the budget doesn't really add up. And so we were having a couple of those months right in a row, and we went to Life Group, or our small group community, one night, and had a few of our friends just pray for us and say, we have a couple $100s that we are short in our budget this month. We've cut everything out, and we're asking God to provide for us. So they prayed for us, and we went to the store that night, got a couple of small things, and headed back home. And as we came up to our front door, we saw all of these balloons that were wrapped around our doorknob, and we weren't really sure what they were, so we took them off the doorknob and took them inside. And as I took the balloons off, I noticed that there was something inside the balloons. And I said to my wife, "Hey babe, I think there's something in here. It's not just someone being friendly and giving us balloons, but I think that they gave us something in here." And so we went inside and we sat down on the floor and we started to pop the balloons. And so we popped the first one, and all this cash fell out of that first balloon. And we counted it up, and it was $20, $50, something like that. And then we started popping the other balloons, started popping them one by one. And at the end of it, we had popped about 8 or 10 balloons, and there was over $250 in all of those balloons. And it was more than we needed that month, and God provided actually more for the next month so that we had everything provided for us. So that's one of our favorite stories. The other favorite story is that my wife had a nice car. It was a Jeep, but it was a 1999 Jeep. So when we were about to have our first baby, she was 9 months pregnant, and we went to a car dealership to have them help us hook up the car seat, because we had no idea how to do it. And so we go to the guy, and he's hooking it up, and he says, what you need one of those new cars that has an anchor in it. And he says, you don't really need a brand new one, just, like a 2008 or 2009, something like that. Well, we laughed and left and had the baby, and a few weeks later, we were going in for his 6-week checkup. And I had to go home to pick up my insurance card, and so I was heading back up to the hospital, and on my way back, I got into a wreck. A little old lady ran a red light, and I pulled out and totaled both of our cars. Well, we called her parents, and they said, well, we'll try and find something for you guys to have. Well, I asked my wife, I said, hey, what would you love to have? Let's just pray for something that would be incredible. And she said, well, it would be nice to have a minivan or something like that so that we could have kids. And I said, well, what do you really want to have? Like, what would it be for you, the perfect kind of car? And she said, well, I would love to have a big SUV, leather interiors, and even those seat warmers. And you know what? I would love to have those little anchors that car salesman was telling us about. So we prayed and asked God, hey God, this would be great to have. So a couple weeks later, her dad calls us up and he says, hey, we're coming down, and all we could find was this minivan for you. So we were elated, we were really excited, and later that day they pull into the driveway, and it's not a minivan, but it's an SUV. And it's an SUV that has leather seats, and it's an SUV that has seat warmers, and it's an SUV that has those little anchors that car salesman was telling us that we needed to have. And it wasn't a 2010 or 2011, but it was a 2007. And it was exactly what we'd asked God for, and He had provided exactly what she wanted and what we wanted.